No One Will Save You opens with Brynn, a young woman. Brynn, however, lives alone in a large house far from the town and other areas, in contrast to the other people her age. But other than her habit of never speaking, which appears to be a factor in her decision to live alone, there is nothing odd about her. On this particular morning, Brynn gets ready, lights up the intricately detailed miniature village she constructed, and then puts the final touches on a frock. The woman appears to produce and sell garments online, transporting them to locations outside of her native state. The degree of Brynn's loneliness, however, becomes more apparent as she travels to the nearest town to ship this package. Everyone in the town that sees the woman avoids eye contact with her, as if they were very upset with her for something. Brynn herself stays away from everyone and everything, especially from Collins and his wife, the police chief. Despite the fact that the cause of this scenario is kept a secret, it is clear that Brynn has been shunned and isolated by the entire village. She has set up her life so that she doesn't have to communicate or contact anyone in person as a coping mechanism. She writes letters to a woman named Maud but never posts them, and her frequent visits to her mother's cemetery in the town appear to be the only passionate but silent discussions she has. That night, however, Brynn's life takes an unimaginably crazy turn as she abruptly awakens to strange noises emanating from the basement. The woman bravely begins to descend the stairs after noticing that the electricity is out, only to discover that someone has already broken into her home. Brynn is unable to accept what is happening to her as she realizes that the intruder is an alien species that has broken into the home. It becomes clear very immediately that the violent extraterrestrial, who has a large head and lengthy limbs, wants to harm people, starting with Brynn. The woman gathers her strength and applies her intellect to kill the alien creature with a knife, but she also has a nagging suspicion that more horrible things are about to happen. How did Brynn combat the alien enemies? Brynn spends the night in complete shock after killing the first alien in her house, and she waits for dawn. She plans to contact the alien for assistance, but finds right away that she has no electricity in her home, and that even the battery in her car has been completely drained, likely as a result of the alien's presence. The woman rides her bicycle to town after covering the body, still apprehensive of how the murder will be seen by others. But as she travels, Brynn realizes that every house by the side of the road appears to have been looted, as if they had been subjected to the same extraterrestrial attack as she had the night before. She also observes what appear to be dirt circles on the yards of these residences, and she had previously observed a similar occurrence in her own yard prior to the alien invasion. Brynn considers complaining to the police once she arrives in the town, despite the fact that she might not be believed, but her plan backfires. When the woman enters the station, she runs into Collins, the police chief, and his wife. While the husband is more restrained, the wife spits directly in Brynn's face before leaving. This again hints that something specific may have happened in the past between Brynn and Collins. This terrible encounter leaves the young woman feeling humiliated and defeated. She even experiences a panic attack. She decides to stop pursuing the police, so she buys a bus ticket to leave the city and gets on the bus as well. However, when a man suddenly confronts Brynn and starts making the same warbling noises as the extraterrestrial earlier, things quickly become very serious. The mailman, who was instantly identified as such, had been transformed into an alien minion, and Brynn had also noticed the mail delivery van's wreckage while traveling to town. Soon, more people will approach the woman in a similar way, and it is obvious from their actions and noises that they have all been infected by the aliens. Brynn manages to escape somehow, running back home to check on the dead alien once more. She now notices a liquid trail that has traveled a fair distance from the home and emerged from the corpse's lips. It almost seems as though the dead body had sent out some kind of signal to let people know that it had died, and as night comes, it does indeed appear that this is the case. Brynn decides to take matters into her own hands and take some sort of action to respond to the enormous dark clouds that are covering the sky. Since there is currently no electricity, she uses candles to light up the entire home. She also boils water in pails to use as a weapon in case of an attack. When darkness falls, an alien spacecraft hovers over the home and fires a powerful light beam that drags the dead alien body away. It is not made explicit what is done with this body, although it is obvious that aliens, like humans, do not want to leave their fallen comrade's body behind. Brynn's situation worsens when another alien species, this one smaller but with extraordinarily long limbs, enters her home and tries to find her. Using the expanse of her enormous home, the woman manages to escape the situation once more before killing the beast as well. Brynn, who is terrified by the entire incident, makes an attempt to leave her residence but is quickly attacked by a third alien. The third creature, which resembles a massive spider, is far more menacing and powerful than the first two. Brynn continues to flee the beast as the possessed mailman also approaches her out of nowhere. The alien thing, realizing that he has cornered the woman, now begins to gesture with his limbs, just as the earlier monster had done, and it is revealed that this is how the creatures communicate with their spacecraft. In this sense, it is possible to deduce the true motivation for the alien invasion, as it appears that they are just here to rule the world and seize control of all living things. The aliens are found to be in possession of several spiky, parasite-like insects, which they aggressively thrust into people's mouths. The parasites then seize the humans' throats, allowing the aliens to take control of their bodies. Another possibility is that the more a person cries and screams, the more impact the parasite has, and thus, the stronger it becomes. Because Brynn is able to overcome the parasite's effects and remove it from her throat, this explanation appears to be realistic. The other humans could have done this as well if it had been so straightforward. The sole distinction between them and Brynn, however, seems to be pertinent now that they have all succumbed. The teenager no longer used her voice. Perhaps since she did not scream as loudly as the others, the parasite was quickly removed from her body. Fortunately, Brynn survives the mailman's attack because the alien spacecraft is hovering over them at the same moment and issuing the bright light that is used to lift objects into the sky. The mailman is drawn up by the beam instead of Brynn, and she is able to flee. The woman deftly locks the spider-like creature inside her automobile and sets it ablaze as it pursues her. For a few seconds, it appears as though Brynn had indeed evaded the extraterrestrial attack when the thing dies. What is the cause of the townspeople's hatred for Brynn? The protagonist is attacked by a fourth alien entity as she enters her home, and it now seems as though this loop will never end. The controlling parasite is implanted inside Brynn, though, when she is eventually pinned down by the extraterrestrial, or more precisely, by a bright red beam of light coming from the spaceship. Brynn discovers herself waking up in her own home in the morning as the parasite begins to take effect, with no indication of the aliens or any attack. Another woman of a similar age enters the home and joyfully approaches her as she descends the stairs. Even though Brynn can't fully see her face, she is aware that the visitor is Maud, her childhood closest friend. The earlier scenes in the movie featured images that demonstrated how close friends Brynn and Maud had been. The two were practically inseparable. However, Brynn's apology letters to her best friend and Maud's disappearance in the present imply that Maud has passed away and that Brynn could have done more to rescue her. The fact that Maud Collins' parents are the police sheriff Collins and his wife, and that they have a very strong animosity for Brynn further supports the idea that she was involved in their daughter's passing. Brynn apologizes to Maud in this dreamlike vision she has before recognizing that what she is experiencing is a parasitic effect. After getting rid of the parasite, she is forced to flee into a nearby forest because the parasite is captured by the alien spacecraft, which subsequently turns a clone of Brynn into the target of her vengeful pursuit. In addition to surviving the attack, Brynn also kills the clone replica by stabbing her with a box cutter while simultaneously comforting the dying woman. Later, when Brynn is ultimately taken hostage by the spaceship and undergoes an operation by the aliens, the precise importance of this is made clear. But instead of killing her, the aliens actually get access to her memories, revealing Brynn's past to the audience as well. Brynn and Maud got into a heated argument when they were both still teenagers, and Maud punched Brynn to the ground. Brynn grabbed up a stone out of blind vengeance and struck her best buddy in the head with it. Brynn was responsible for Maud's passing because this resulted in Maud's demise. Brynn had admitted to her act, and as a result of it, she was shunned by Collins and the other residents of the village. The town's residents were unwilling to pardon the girl even after all these years, despite the fact that the girl had no intention of causing any harm and had subsequently regretted her conduct. Although she had come to terms with her seclusion, the woman secretly felt sorry for herself because she realized how clueless her teenage self had been. Brynn is shown comforting her dying clone and subsequently comforting her adolescent self aboard the spaceship because of this emotion. These images represent the woman's long-standing internal struggle with guilt and her eventual decision to pardon herself for the serious error she had made. Aliens invaded the town. Did Brynn and the residents survive? Brynn's memories are accessed by the aliens, and they appear to recognize that she is highly unique among other people. This distinction is likely the result of the others' complete lack of sympathy for a little girl who had unintentionally committed a serious crime. It's also possible that the aliens believe the main character to be more like them than the other humans, since they see an innate evil in her. No One Will Save You doesn't explicitly point out the distinction, but in any case, the aliens left Brynn alive after letting her off of their spacecraft. The woman appears much more thrilled than usual as she awakens the following morning inside her home. She gets ready for her trip to town, even donning cosmetics. Everyone in the town now waves back to Brynn when she does, unlike before, and they are all very pleasant to her. The reason for this is readily obvious since the locals' throats still have the alien parasites attached to them.